Alright, so I get a call from one of my regulars who comes here for the servicer cars. And this particular car, I believe, was a 2005 Mercedes E320 4Matic. So I get a call from her and she says, I'm on my way there with my car. The car actually stopped moving on me. I think she maybe was waiting at a red light, or she went in shopping, came out, started the car, it didn't move. But anyway, she pulls up, car's on the way here. So they get it here, and the tow truck driver confirms it doesn't move, so they lets it down off the flatbed. And I get in it, start it up, I'm hearing the noise, and I also notice that the car is not holding in park. So I said, okay, probably what's going on with this thing, without even putting it on the lift to get out of the air, I'm thinking we got a broken axle. So I said, once I get it, I get a free lift, let me get it inside, we'll lift it up, we'll see what axle's broken, I'll get it on order, and we'll get it taken care of. So we get a free lift a couple hours later, car's up in the air, and there are no broken axles. So I send a tech up on the ladder, start the car, and puts it in drive and in reverse, and all I got is a noise coming out of the rear of the transmission. So we got a noise where the transmission and the transfer case meet. So there's something going on there. So what I'm going to do is give you, I want to focus on the bench now, and I want to give you a close-up shot of what I found with this 4Matic Mercedes. Actually, the drive gear that is bolted onto the rear of the trans that goes into the input shaft of the transfer case was stripped out, and it's easy enough to change, so there was no need actually to do a transmission on the car. We removed the transfer case and changed the gear, cleaned it all out in there, put it back together, and it worked fine. And the gear is available from Mercedes. I happen to have a few because you know, it is, I don't know if you could say it's common. I've seen it a few times. Talking to other people in other shops, they said, oh yeah, we see that a lot. But I've had it a few times here. So let me just get closer to the bench here, and I will show you the bad gear versus what a good gear looks like. And I cleaned it all out and what I did before I put it back together. So let me just get onto the bench here, and I'll be right back. All right, so here are two drive gears. This one is the bad one, and this one, of course, is the good one. But just to let you know how this is set up in the car, it actually goes into the car this way, and this part faces the transfer case. This smooth part here, there's a seal. That's, you know, which is the rear seal of the trans, and then here this goes in, and you got your typical Mercedes bolt, which is like a 30mm 12-point bolt that goes on here, and then you could pin it over so it doesn't come loose. But look at the difference between the two. There's really nothing left on this one, and this is a fairly new gear. So what I think happens with this, and this is, of course, is only with the 4Matics, because the rear wheel drives, you're not going to have this. You see, this is really stripped out. There's nothing really here left at all. When we took this thing apart, it was really dry, and it was no lube or anything in there. And of course, you know, this happened, the car was in 2005, so it, you know, took I guess about 11 years or so. I don't even remember the mileage on the car. I don't even know if it was up to 100,000. But it was very dry. You had all that, like that red dust, so we had to clean all that stuff out. And I think that's pretty much why this happened. So when we put the new gear back, you know, this really isn't a new one, but this is a very in good shape used one that I got some from my Mercedes friend. What I did was I loaded this up here with the high temperature grease, and I loaded up the input shaft of the transfer case with the high temperature grease and then put it together. So that grease really isn't going to melt. So there's plenty of lube in there, so it should be okay. Now I have a video, one of the first videos that I made was on the 5R55S, and it showed, I don't remember exactly, I think it might have been an assembly tip, showing the output shaft of the transmission and the input shaft of the transfer case, and how it gets all corroded and rusty, and that can actually cause engagement problems. And what I mean by that is you can have a bang, or I think it might have been like clicking noises or something to that effect on engagement, and that's because of all the rust and the crap that gets in here. So even, I just did a 5R55S the other day, and I always clean out the input shaft of the transfer case, and I run the output shaft of the trans on the wire wheel, and I grease it up with the high temperature grease, and I put the two halves together. So, I mean, there's really, if you have one of these cars, there's really not much you can do unless you want to pull the transfer case off, but that is why this had happened. And another thing, another reason why I wanted to make this, in case you ever have the scenario of the car not moving or the car not holding in park, and it is a 4Matic, there's a good chance that just this gear is no good. So again, there was no need to do a transmission on this car. We pulled the transfer case out, we switched out, you know, we realized this was the problem, and we pinpointed the noise, and we just pretty much changed out the gear, lubed it up again, like I said, put it back together, and the car worked fine. So, you know, I'm sure the people, if the car would have got towed there, they would have sold them a trans. But there was no need to do that. Just for, you know, just for the strip gear. Let me just get the type of grease that I put on this. This is pretty much the grease that I use here. This here is high temperature grease, so it's really not going to melt, and it keeps it nice and lubricated to avoid any kind of problems. So I just wanted to share this one scenario with you with this 4Matic. This is only on 4Matic Mercedes. The input shaft of the transfer case really didn't have any damage to it. I thought I was going to have to do the output this drive gear hub and the input shaft of the transfer case, but when I took the new gear and tried it in the transfer case, it was okay. It wasn't really slapping around. It actually fit very nicely. And the rear seal of the trans was okay too. So again, I just unbolted it, the 30mm bolt, pulled it off, put the new one on, lubed it up, and I had the guys put the transfer case back in, and that fixed it up real nice for her. So just wanted to share that scenario with you. I guess you can maybe call it a tip in case it ever happens to you, or you get these symptoms and it is a 4Matic. Again, chances are maybe you just have a bad gear. So that's about it for this one, guys. I thank you for watching, and you guys have a great day.